The moment you hand over the keys to a new tenant, your property is completely out of your direct control. You are handing over an asset worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to someone you likely only met a few weeks ago. To protect that asset, you collect a security deposit. This provides a direct financial cushion to cover expenses like unpaid rent, utility bills left behind, or physical damage to the property itself. But in Pennsylvania, you cannot simply collect a massive deposit and lock it away. State law attaches strict, heavily regulated strings to this money from the exact second it changes hands. You are holding someone else's money in trust. Treating that deposit as arbitrary extra cash rather than a strictly regulated asset guarantees a fast track to severe financial penalties. Pennsylvania precisely limits security deposits. In the first year, it's legally capped at 2 months' rent. Entering the second year, the held deposit must drop to a maximum of 1 month's rent. At 5 years, the deposit is permanently locked, even if rent increases. Pennsylvania law specifically prevents landlords from scaling deposit burdens as tenancies lengthen. By capping and reducing the held funds, the state requires property owners to rely on alternative risk management the longer a tenant stays. Once you collect the correct amount, you have to store it properly. You cannot mix a tenant's security deposit with your personal funds or your daily operating accounts. The money must be placed in a state-approved escrow account or backed by a guaranteed bond. You also have to prove you did this. You must provide the tenant with a written notice, in person or via certified mail. This document must clearly state the name of the banking institution, the branch address, and the exact dollar amount deposited. This tracker shows the timeline for mandatory interest. Starting in the 25th month of occupancy, the deposit must start earning interest for the tenant. Landlords are legally permitted to retain a 1% management fee subtracted directly from that accrued interest. The core principle here is that the deposit never stops being the tenant's property. Holding it requires active, precise accounting, not just passive storage in a forgotten checking account, so meticulous records are absolutely essential. Eventually, the lease ends. Before the tenant leaves, you have the option to conduct a walkthrough inspection to assess the physical state of the property. While Pennsylvania doesn't legally mandate this step, it is highly recommended. During this inspection, you are looking for damage, but you have to filter out routine deterioration. Normal wear and tear, things like lightly scuffed grout, gently worn carpets, or fading paint, is expected. You cannot use the security deposit to fund these routine refurbishments. This side-by-side comparison shows the difference. On the left is normal wear, on the right is true damage. Damage occurs from carelessness or negligence, like deep, jagged scratches, missing or broken tiles, burns, or large holes. To prove the tenant caused the damage on the right, you need meticulous records. Keeping detailed written logs and time-stamped photos from both the original move-in date and the final move-out date is essential. Without accurate, objective categorization and concrete proof of the property's condition, you have no legal basis to withhold a tenant's funds for repairs. The moment the lease agreement ends and the tenant vacates, a strict legal countdown begins. Here is how that timeline works. Landlords have exactly 30 days from the end of the lease to return the security deposit to the tenant. To facilitate this, you must actively request a forwarding address from the tenant before they leave the property. There is one notable exception to the timeline. If the tenant entirely fails to provide you with a forwarding address, you are relieved of the immediate liability to refund the money within that 30-day window. At the end of a lease, administrative speed is just as crucial as the physical condition of the property. If you drag your feet, the penalties escalate quickly. If you do find damage beyond wear and tear, or if there is unpaid rent, you cannot just send a reduced check. You must provide an itemized written list of those specific costs alongside the remaining funds. Failing to provide this itemized list within the 30-day window triggers the first major penalty. The state forces you to forfeit your right to keep any of the deposit, regardless of how much damage the tenant actually caused. If you miss the 30-day return deadline entirely, the penalties multiply. The tenant can take you to small claims court and sue for double the deposit amount. Mastering the chronological life cycle of a deposit, from exactly how much to collect to exactly when to return it, protects both the physical property and your bottom line from aggressive legal penalties. Managing those timelines requires precision. If you need help navigating Pennsylvania landlord-tenant laws or managing your rental properties, Trust Art Realty provides comprehensive property management services in the Philadelphia area. Contact us today to get a free rental pricing analysis.